So I'm Linda Blauner. I'm the Director of Program Management for a division within LSI Logic, the Design Technology Development Group. Okay, so today what I'd like to talk to you about, I'm going to give you some background on our group, our Program Management Group, and how we got started. And then I'm going to talk to you about Concerto's role, how we've used Concerto to try to enhance and further our TOC implementation. So to be a little different than the tact I think you heard from several other presentations, and hopefully will dovetail well with what you heard yesterday. Then I'll speak to you specifically about our implementation. We have been doing this for quite a while, and give you some metrics of how we're doing, and still speak to you about the challenges that we're facing. So our group, we have a program management group reports to me that is responsible for the execution of development projects that are within our division under my VP. It's a group of about 300 developers, and the type of projects we manage are designed to, I should say, LSI Logic is a semiconductor company. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but we basically design chips and the methodologies and fabrication facilities for producing those chips. So the types of projects we manage are the design tools, the methodologies, the libraries that are used in creating these chips, and the basic process technology development programs. So these projects range. They're very different. They're different in size. They're different in complexity. So they range from very small projects, or at least in our definition, where we would have potentially maybe 5 resources or less on a program, and they would run for maybe 3 to 6 month durations. Then we also have very large, complex projects where at a given time there's maybe over 30 resources on the program, and they would have a duration of a year or more. We also are in a very shared resource, multi-project environment. The resources are used across these projects. So that is a major, it was a major complexity of managing all these programs. This is some of the data of these small types of projects. So before we were collecting data and benchmarking beforehand. So a bunch of these types of projects, pre-TOC, we were achieving our commit dates within 10%, about 74% of the time. Then we were tracking the metrics year by year. Actually, we do 12-month rolling average, and I'll show you that data of how we improved. So you can see here we were showing improvement, and this helped us buy into then buying a tool to help us do better. And so you could, I don't know if 15% or whatever, 10% seems like a lot to you, but it is a lot of improvement. When you're hitting your commits, it also means your throughput's going up, right? And it's time to market. And we talked yesterday, time to market is definitely the value for us. And we would, if we were late, market window is closing, and we might even just lose the business altogether. So this is truly significant for us. And so we got the tool, we're doing better. Now, some of you guys I think are having honeymoon periods, but we're starting to see plateau, and that's part of our issue. We want to still keep pushing it, and we're looking for continuous improvement. But this is our we're at the 85 to, we're wobbling there. So we're happy with the results. We heard Ajay say this morning, target for 80% or better, but our managers put 90% as the goal. So we're really trying to keep pushing it. So this is for this small class of projects. This is just that data where I'm showing you how we're collecting it. This is a 12-month rolling average metric, because we only complete maybe 1 or 2 projects in a month. So to do it on a monthly basis wasn't significant enough. So I'm tracking it as a 12-month rolling average. The thing that's, I think, even more telling than the 90%, or this 85 to 88%, is pre-TOC. Look at, this is the percent very late, 0 to 2 weeks late, say. The yellow bar is the ones that are greater than 2 weeks late, and the red bar were the ones on time or early. Before TOC, we had no on time or early. Things that were close, it was constant firefighting, pulling and borrowing resources for some, so it's a constant firefight. Once with TOC, we got huge numbers that were on time or early, and the numbers that are, more late, that's going down. And we're constantly trying to get this bar obviously higher and the yellow bar obviously lower, right? Not just to have them all within 0 to 2 weeks late. So, all right, then the other thing that we like about this kind of metric, this is variance. to try to normalize all the projects. We have this stated duration, but how much early or late are you relative to that planned duration? I took the names out to protect the guilty, but this is projects completed by manager, by the resource manager, the groups that are responsible for the project, so that we can help to pinpoint the trouble spots, the guys who maybe aren't walking the walk, right? This is a 10% variance goal. And so what we're doing, you can see, if you end up with too much buffer left, you're too much early, that's not necessarily a good thing. You're not making commitments to the market that maybe would get you out there sooner, right? I mean, good, you're early, but if you're too early, there's probably some padding going on there. So, it helps us to look, this blue guy, he's probably very, very conservative, and we need to help him work on his duration estimate. It's good for the business. Then you've got, the guys that are just probably not doing the relay runner mentality, whatever. They're way late, and so it helps us to pinpoint where we need to work with the managers. Like if you look at the orange guy or whatever, he's pretty good. You want to be wobbling around the 0 line, obviously. So that helps us look by a manager-manager basis of where we should try to get more improvement. We would create sub-projects in our lingo. We weren't using the sub-project tool thing. We were calling these sub-projects because it's a piece of our whole project. Excuse me. And we would identify our must-have features and nice-to-have features up front. And then with these sub-projects, each one would have its own project buffer. And of all the must-haves, the latest of those project buffers would define, if you will, our beta code freeze point in our macro skeleton. So then we would then stagger or pipeline all the features we want based on whatever the drum resource was. Most important first and staggered. So we got it the way we wanted. The most important features up front, the nice-to-haves at the back. Hopefully they'll all make it by the beta freeze date, but if not, which are the ones we're going to chop, the nice-to-have. If any of our must-haves get in trouble, which resources would we take from? The nice-to-haves, right? So it enabled us to achieve what we wanted, was to get the product out with the must-have features. Okay, so the benefits of doing this is, as I said, we got the must-haves protected, and if they ran into difficulty, there was more time to address that. Because these projects were now smaller and simpler, it was much easier to assess and manage them. They're now more like the earlier projects I told you, where they're smaller, less resources per project, right? And it was much easier from a program manager standpoint to manage and execute to them. And then the P2P links, though, we could P2P link them to the macro skeleton plan, so you still could get, via the P2P view, how all the various pieces are lining up. You could see which one's potentially at risk of missing the code freeze date. And so then maybe start to say, well, okay, we'll for sure cut this feature and start to adjust if you wanted to. Each of these is a release. So first of all, before TOC, we were always late with the product. And the release would slip quarters, maybe even 2 quarters. We would hit the beta freeze, but then the quality and integration testing, you'd find problems and have to go back. So this first one I'm showing you it's before Concerto. It was a large project model when everything was in one project. So at this point, we were like a month late, right? And that was better than we had ever seen, but we still obviously weren't achieving the results we wanted. This next one is the first implementation of where we broke down to this small project structure. And this was a total, in our mind, we were a week off. This is a year project, 1 week off. And the quality was regarded as better than any quality we had ever done on a release. Then, so that was just the first one, and I was a little nervous. Okay, repeating results. What do they say? Once is luck, twice is coincidence, 3 times it's real, or whatever. Okay, so I'm counting. I'm like every year, right? So next year, 2 days early, Celia's program, she managed that one. 2 days early, next release, right on the due date. I mean, these are programs that development's going on, a long time, right? Last one, again, right on the due date. Now, so that would look like to you on 100% hit commit. The next slide I have is the data based on the sub-projects, because we would choose to potentially not include, the scope of the project would be the must-haves. Nice-to-haves were added, right? So what we were doing is a way of seeing how good are we at managing our resources. Are we getting that throughput? I'm still measuring the statistics of the sub-projects. My releases went out on time. I did not sacrifice the release. The release went out on time, which is the main thing. That's the release to the customer. But in terms of our roadmap of the features we want to get in, if there's delay, that means they're going to go in the next release, and then something I wanted in that next release is going to push too, right? So we wanted to measure this metric to, again, get more and more of the sub-projects done on time, right? So this, you can see, this is making a huge improvement. And these were the hard programs to do. So we're not done here. We obviously want to do better. But, I mean, it's made significant change. Okay. Next. So again, this is the data there. And what's interesting here, again, pre-TOC, very late, right? These dips, some of these dips reflect this is a 12-month rolling average, right? So again, at some point, you'll say, I'm going to do the must-haves. I'm not going to do the nice-to-haves. You're going to put resources from the nice-to-haves to work onto the must-haves. And then those projects will miss the commit. And we didn't reprioritize or recommit them because we wanted to measure that. How many of the things we had expected to get done we're going to now move. So you would see, okay, now those projects we intentionally said we're not going to do, it's going to pull your metric down, but that helps us to now continue to improve. So again, the main thing is the releases went out on time.